All right, so these are the visuals coming in from Somnath, where the Prime Minister, as you can see, is participating in the Shaurya Yatra to honor the warriors who laid down their lives defending the Somnath temple. We're learning that after this yatra, at around 10:30, 11, he will be conducting a puja and then a Shaurya Sabha, where he will be addressing the devotees of the Somnath temple. But there on the screen, you can see that, in fact, as far as Prime Minister's visit there is concerned, a procession of 108 horses is being carried out to pay respect to those who defended the temple. Prime Minister is on a 3-day visit to Gujarat, and he has participated in the historic Somnath Swabhiman Parv. The event marks 1,000 years since the first invasion of the temple in 1026 and 75 years since the restoration of the temple in 1951. And today the Prime Minister will take part in the Shaurya Yatra ceremonial procession honoring those who defended the shrine back thousands of years back. Prime Minister Modi will also perform a puja and then offer prayer at the temple. He will then address a public gathering in Somnath, and then later in the day, a lot is lined up. The Prime Minister is all set to inaugurate the vibrant Gujarat Regional Conference in Rajkot. But remember, he had arrived in Somnath yesterday, and after arriving, the Prime Minister participated in the Omkar mantra chanting and viewed a spectacular drone show at the temple. And in fact, today, as you can see in the visuals, Prime Minister is there at the spot, taking part and leading the Shaurya Yatra, which is to honor the warriors who had laid down their lives defending the Somnath temple. Now, many are asking why this visit of the Prime Minister is so crucial. It is crucial because 2026 marks 1,000 years since the first invasion of the temple in 1026 and 75 years since the restoration of the temple in 1951. In fact, a lot has been said about the history of the Somnath temple there. It is first of the 12 Jyotirlingas, and it is in fact quite a prominent one there as far as the country is concerned. And there in the visuals, as you can see, Prime Minister, in fact, there in Somnath, and there on the screen you can see a procession of 108 horses, which is being done to pay respect to those who defended the temple thousands of years ago. Coming in from Somnath, where you can hear the religious chants, the excitement and the fervor there on the streets of Somnath. 1,000 years, countless invasion, and yet the Somnath temple stands tall. A temple that was looted, razed and attacked time and again, but never defeated. And today it remains not just a place of worship, but a timeless symbol of faith, resilience and pride. And now, paying tribute to that unbroken legacy, Prime Minister Modi is in Somnath. Today is his day 2 of the visit. And in fact, yesterday he visited the iconic Somnath temple as a part of the Somnath Swabhiman Parv, which is underway. In fact, it started on January 8th. And it will end today is what we're learning. And on the very last day, in fact, Prime Minister is there, and he will be leading the Shaurya Yatra, then conducting a puja and then Shaurya Sabha, where he will be addressing the public, the devotees there in Somnath. For more on this, let me go across to my colleague Pragya, who's been tracking all the details there. Pragya, we can hear chants, there's excitement, there's fervor on the streets of Somnath. Prime Minister has arrived there. Take us through the latest.
Kanksha, and the first visual that Times Now gave you of Prime Minister was, when he was also showing Damaru, and in fact this is also one of the symbolism that he is showing while coming to Sarnath. Shiva is called Damaru, and traditionally used by the seers and saints to worship Lord Shiva, and this is exactly what Prime Minister was doing today when he sort of took Damaru in his hand. He was accompanied by Chief Minister of Gujarat and Deputy Mr. Bhupendra and also Bhupendra Patel, and in fact Deputy Chief Minister of Gujarat, Mr. Harsh Sanghavi. And in fact, we had seen there was a cavalry, in front of him, and there was a horse cavalry behind him also. On the sides were those Rishi Kumars who were also seen with damarus. This is a kind of, visual. It's a visual treat that he has also given to all of those who are watching this right now. This is also a statement that he made, being a Sanatani and also speaking loudly about the Sanatan Dham. Prime Minister is on his way to the temple.
आपको नजर आ रहा है लोगों की भारी भीड़, श्रद्धालुओं की भारी भीड़ और साथ ही साथ 108 घोड़ों की प्रतीकात्मक शोभा यात्रा भी हम देख पा रहे हैं। अखंड भारत की एक झलक।
You're watching Times Now, and we are getting you live visuals from Somnath, the temple town that has been decked up. On your screens are visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's leading the Shaurya Yatra procession, waving at thousands of devotees who've gathered in the holy temple town, marking this moment that's going to be etched in history. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is taking part in the Somnath Shaurya Yatra as part of the Somnath Swabhiman Parv. This is not just a religious event, viewers. This is a moment that is loaded with history, with symbolism, and also with civilizational meaning. Chants of Har Har Mahadev are echoing in Somnath today. Now, as the sun rose over the Arabian Sea, Prime Minister Narendra Modi led the Shaurya Yatra. This is a ceremonial procession honoring those who gave their lives defending the Somnath temple across centuries. We're telling you again and again, this is not just a procession. This is not just a parade. This is a tribute. 108 horses, symbols of valor, sacrifice, and honor. They are leading the procession through the temple town. Their footfalls, the footfalls in Somnath today is echoing a story far older than all of us. This is a story of warriors who fought not for faith, of men like Veer Hamirji Gohil, who stood between invaders and also the sanctity of Somnath, of a civilization that chose resistance over erasure. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is taking part in the Shaurya Yatra amidst these chants of Har Har Mahadev. You're seeing flowers and flags. He's not just taking part as a spectator today. And this book, and that moment when he picked up the Damru, this is a moment that many will remember. Devotees, thousands of them, have lined the route. There are folk artists over there who are marking the moment with their celebrations. Many are paying homage today to the temple town of Somnath that is watching history being acknowledged. The Shaurya Yatra is part of the Somnath Swabhiman Parv. It is marking 1,000 years since the temple was invaded. It was desecrated and yet rebuilt. And that is the core of this memory. This is a memory that fills thousands of devotees with pride, because Somnath's story is not just about destruction. It is about defense. It is about resolve. It is about resilience. It is about rebuilding. And it is about standing back up. This morning, viewers, as Prime Minister bows before Somnath and Mahadev after this yatra, the message is quiet, but the message is loud and clear, that the nation remembers the defenders of civilization. It honors the courage of those who defended civilization over years, and also it honors its history. No longer are we going to be silent about the resilience of Bharat's civilization, and this moment captures it. The Prime Minister is leading the Somnath Shaurya Yatra. Once again, take a look at the pictures and just soak it in for some time. through the live pictures as they're coming in from Somnath. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is leading the Shaurya Yatra in Somnath, a moment that is going to be etched in history. Chants of Har Har Mahadev are echoing. This is a Shaurya Yatra that is moving through Somnath not as a festival march but as a tribute in motion. And Prime Minister Modi is leading that procession. 108 horses are in this yatra, a symbolic number which represents valor, which represents sacrifice, and also the spirit of those who stood their ground defending Somnath temple over centuries of assault. The procession is passing through streets that are lined up with devotees, men, women and children. Many who are standing there with folded hands, who are watching history unfold, not from books, but on the ground that they are standing upon. Folk artists, traditional performers and cultural troupes are walking alongside. This is not just for, entertainment. It is for honor. Yes, they are talking about courage. They're honoring sacrifice. They're telling us a story of resistance. At many points along the route of the Shaurya Yatra, there are moments when people will remember this as a memory that is etched for history. Memory of warriors like Veer Hamirji Gohil, who laid down his life defending Somnath, and of countless unsung protectors who stood between invaders and the sanctity of the Somnath Mandir. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is leading this procession. There are no slogans right now, no speeches right now. This is a march of symbolism. This is a march that tells us a story of Sanatan's resolve. Shantanu Gupta, author, joining us on this broadcast. Dr. Vikram Sampath, author and historian, also with us. As we look at these pictures that are coming in from Somnath, when we see that moment when Prime Minister Narendra Modi is not just leading the Shaurya Yatra, Dr. Vikram, but also when he takes the damru in his hand and when he, becomes a devotee in that very moment, what is the message that goes out today?
Good morning. I think it's a momentous occasion in the history of not just this nation but this civilization. And I think as he moves the damru, it is an eternal call that Sanatan Dharma remains eternal, irrespective of whatever happens. Somnath, we are not today commemorating the destruction of Somnath, but what we are seeing and witnessing and celebrating is the resilience despite these attacks, despite these repeated invasions that happened from that horrible week of January in 1026 CE, when the marauder Mahmud Ghazni, broke the temple and its idol. And since then, and you were talking about Veer Hamirji Gohil, even when Mahmud Ghazni came to invade Somnath in that year, you had almost 50,000 common Hindus belonging to every caste and community, including farmers and others, not only just the royal warriors, but all of them standing there to defend their temple. And that took actually Mahmud Ghazni by total surprise and shock. He had expected it to be a very easy pathway to the destruction, but it took him apparently 3 days to kill all of them and then get into the sanctum sanctorum to defile the murti. So right from then onwards, the resistance that was continuously offered in these 1,000 years is, I think, what we are witnessing today, honoring today and celebrating today.
And Shantanu Gupta, as we see these pictures, as we talk about how today is a story of Sanatan's resilience and Sanatan's resolve. But there are many within the ecosystem who are very uncomfortable with the celebration of Bharat's civilizational journey. What message goes out to them today?
I think first of all, Har Har Mahadev to you, to my good friend Vikram and all the viewers who are watching. I think Vikram will agree with this. I think we are in very fortunate times that we are witnessing this with our naked eyes. In fact, I remember in 2024, 22nd January, when I was in Ayodhya, and we saw the Ram Lala statue, the Vigrah, and the same time, in a typical Yogi Adityanath style, a helicopter flew and was showering petals, rose petals at the Ram Bhakt. and the Saryu next to me became red, and it gave me a juxtaposition that in 1990 also Saryu became red, but with the blood of Ram Bhakts. In 2024, it became red with the shower split put on Ram Bhakts, right? This is the juxtaposition. I think you're right. A lot of people are very uncomfortable in saying how can a prime minister of a secular democracy go to a religious festival. I think all such people derive their idea of secularism from the Harvards and Oxfords of the world, and I'll want them to notice the oath of any US president. In the part of the official ceremony, they go to a particular church. There's a 30-minute religious procedure. They take an oath on a Bible, and after the oath, they go to another church, and there is a 30-minute religious procedure there. From there to UK, from Oxfords and Cambridges of the world, in their upper house, the Rajya Sabha equivalent in House of Lords, they have 22 positions reserved for the Church of England. And these people are teaching us that, okay, don't stand with the faith. If my prime minister stands with the faith, he becomes a communal for some reason. I think now, I think I'm so happy. I remember before 2024, every tourism brochure of India started with Taj Mahal, ended with Taj Mahal. Every Prime Minister gifted a Taj Mahal to the counterpart, but now Prime Minister Modi gifts a Gita to its counterpart. In fact, yeah. So I think we are amazing times. I thought it will be a TV debate or a book by someone like Vikram, and that's it. But never thought from Kashi corridor to Kedarnath to Mahakal corridor to Somnath to Ayodhya temple, we will see with our naked eyes. So I think this is literally Renaissance times in modern world.
Yes, and Dr. Vikram Sampath, it is a matter of historical record that Pandit Nehru did not want the state to be associated with the reconstruction or the consecration of the Somnath temple. Why do you think post-independence, the story of Somnath and Somnath's history was, resigned to margins of any kind of narrative? Why didn't we tell the story the way it is being told today?
I think the reason for that is evident in your question itself, that very truly there is documented proof to show that, Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister, tooth and nail opposed, the reconstruction of Somnath Mandir. Much before independence, it was Sardar Patel who had made a public commitment to the fact that this temple, which was so revered from the ancient times as Prabhasa Kshetra, where, Daksha Prajapati's curse on the moon, Soma or Chandra, the moon god, was actually ameliorated. And so that's why it was a place of great piety for all Sanatanis. Now, Sardar Patel understood the pulse of the people, and so this commitment was made on behalf of the Congress that after independence we would actually deliver this temple. And there was no dispute there as well, like probably it was in other places, whether it was the Ram Janmabhoomi or at Gyanvapi. It was a dilapidated masjid where there was no, namaz or anything being offered. So it was only appropriate that this is reconstructed. In fact, Gandhiji himself was also in favor of this, though he felt that this should be reconstructed with public funds and not through state exchequer. But then you have these letters of Nehru to several functionaries of the government, to all the chief ministers who served under him, and also to the President of India, the then President, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was invited by Kanhaiyalal Munshi, the man who is truly the person, the force behind the resurrection of Somnath Mandir, because by then Sardar Patel had unfortunately passed away. And when Munshi goes to Dr. Rajendra Prasad and requests him to inaugurate or lead the entire Pran Pratishtha of this new temple, there are letters of Nehru forcing or coercing Dr. Prasad not to participate in this. And the reasons given are very, very specious. He says, this is somehow a blot on the secular image of my government, and it will create a lot of problem both nationally as well as internationally. And I'm very uncomfortable with this whole Hindu resurgence and what it could do to my image as the head of a government of a so-called secular nation. As my good friend Shantanu mentioned, secularism does not mean being irreligious. And in fact, K.M. Munshi himself writes in his book and memoirs that what use of independence there is if I have to give up my Bhagavad Gita. So the independence should have actually given the nation, the people and society and all theists a very confident wearing of your identity on your sleeve without feeling apologetic about it. But I think since the time Nehru took these views, since the time his idea of what Indian so-called secularism needs to be, which is not even a Western copy. Even in the West, as Shantanu mentioned, religion is not separated that way. You can be religious and still the law need not distinguish between people. In fact, even to the Jam Sahab of Navanagar, which is now Jamnagar, Nehru writes to him saying, I'm not comfortable about this. And you will see that this same, template follows all through his prime ministership. Even in 1959, when he's inaugurated at a speech at, I think, the Lalit Kala Academy, Nehru talks very openly about how when he goes to the huge, temples of southern India, which have been untouched by invasion, though of course there are places like Sri Rangam and others which have also faced iconoclastic attacks but still maintained resilience. So Nehru says, I feel very, very, claustrophobic, and it is very ominous, these dark corridors of the temples of South India. And actually the Taj Mahal, which is what Shantanu mentioned, is given to all, was given to everyone hitherto. Nehru says in that speech that the Taj Mahal is what it should be like. It is open architecture. I feel so free and my spirit is actually rejuvenated. So when you have such a very, very blatantly Hindu-phobic kind of a ideology right at the top of the government, everything else follows thereafter. The historical narrative. Nehru wrote The Discovery of India, which became a template for all historians to follow thereafter. And anyone who went out of line from that narrative had to pay a very heavy price with their careers and with their work. And so I think everyone started following this. And so many such stories, even Ram Janmabhoomi was at a decisive stage. It was not even Babri Masjid then, it was called Masjid-e-Janam Sthan, very clearly indicating whose Janam Sthan it was. Kashi Vishwanath at Kashi, there was a case that went on from 1937 to 1942, Deen Muhammad versus the state, where the Kashi side actually got a very favorable judgment from the British judge in the British courts. So despite it being in your favor, all these contentious matters which could and should have been resolved at independence were kept under the back burner, brushed under the carpet, and historians employed to actually whitewash all of this, saying this is all exaggeration, this is Hindu resurgence, this is communal, and pejoratives like this. And that is how these social unrests have been waiting to erupt ever since over the last few decades, which is very, very unfortunate. If we had made peace with it and given justice to a community rightly deserving of it, I don't think these social unrest would have ever happened in the 70 years after independence.
Yes. Taking that forward, going back to Shantanu, from Ayodhya to Somnath, and the Prime Minister unapologetically wearing his Hindu identity on his sleeve, talking about Sanatan pride, talking about the resilience of the Sanatan Dharma. Take